Hello there, everyone. Come on in, get a seat. We will visit a while and I will see what happens. But the good news is this, and I am happy to tell you that my brother Norman is doing well, but he is going to have a pacemaker put in. So they'll be doing that. And, pacemakers aren't that big a deal anymore. And they really help your heart to beat right. His heart was beating a little too slow when he got out of surgery, though he was doing good. So they're putting a pacemaker in, and that'll delay him a few days. But praise the Lord, it's going good. So, what is my verse for today? And I just read it, which is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We can do all things. We can do a lot of stuff. Sometimes we don't even try, though, do we? So I decided this morning that I would talk about back when I was just a helper with the King's Four Quartet and Buddy when he was cutting his albums on his own. And I was the photographer. And so we would try to do photography in unusual places. And I have a couple of his albums here. I think we have more than that. I don't remember, but it's been so long ago. But we did this one, and I did the photography on it, and the name of it is Joy Comes in the Morning. So this right there is a price tag. We have a flower shop in this town called Abersol's, and they sell funeral arrangements, things for your house, artificial. And see that little lamp there and the greenery in the back? So I went over to Abersol's and I said, my husband's getting ready to cut an album, and could we use your place for a background? And they said, sure. So that's what I did. I sat him down. I had him squat right there, Buddy Baird. And people used to say, is that a wig? No, that's the way we combed his hair. That was in the 70s, late 70s. And it was getting a little long, and he had sideburns. That was the style. So in this next one here, he was getting ready to do another one. He had the music all down, and we was getting ready to have the uh, albums made. So we needed a picture for the front, and we was driving through the country, and it was in the fall. And I saw this stump beside the road, and I said, "Honey, I think that would make a good setting. See, with the flowers, that's blooming. Well, they're not blooming. That's the leaves turning in the fall. I love September. This was probably in September." And so he got out and he sat on that stump. And this was called Oh, What a Savior. Oh, What a Savior. And this was a very successful album. We sold a lot of them. It helped us on the evangelistic field because you could get, oh, here is the back picture. Still combing his hair that way with his sideburns. People were letting their hair get longer back then. And he let me put my picture on the back of this one. See that? And that is a black wig. And see how I wore a scarf even back then? And then it tells about it. Evangelist Buddy Baird and Clarine Baird. That's who I was. I am Lois Clarine Baird-Rice Blair. It's kind of complicated, but so anyhow, I he was a country music singer, and then when he got saved and accepted Jesus and was truly born again, he was a different person. Because when you get born again, you're born of the Spirit, and you serve the Lord, and you do what you can. Don't you like this background? Now, this day, I have been busy. I have been, well, I tell you what, I had to go to Aldi's to get good fruit like apples and onions. I got some Vidalia onions. I just love Vidalia onions, and they're in now and reasonable. And I've got apples and oranges and grapes, and I got him some blackberries. And he'll eat. They come in a little small package, but he'll eat the whole thing in one setting, which is okay. I don't care. I don't care for him. We used to pick when I was a girl, and I'm still a girl, Really. But when I was younger on the farm, I would put on my hat, Daddy's coveralls, long sleeve shirt, and tuck my pants into my socks because we picked blackberries by the gallon, kiddos. And we would go out early in the morning into the blackberry patches, which is in the pasture of where the cows got their grass. In the spring, they ate the wild onions. And of course, I think the blackberries got ripe around July. I don't remember for sure, but we would take our buckets and we would, but you know why you wear so many clothes? Chiggers. Chiggers, you cannot hardly see them. They're a little bitty insect, and they're on the bushes, and they really like them lacy flowers that come up where the blackberries are. And if you brush into that, you're going to be itching for a good long while. So I managed to not get chiggers because I work on, and I wear a hat to keep the sun off my face. And we would pick blackberries till our buckets was full, and we'd take them home. And Mom would, she canned a lot of them. You know, you can can them, and that was before you could freeze them. Later on, she had a freezer, and she would freeze them in the top of her. We finally got a refrigerator. When we moved there, I was 10 years old on the farm, and we did not have electric. We had lamps, and we didn't have a central heating. We had a kitchen stove, and the house was not heated at night. I mean, water would freeze in the kitchen. So Daddy would get up first and build the fire in our cook stove. And then he would make the biscuits, and Mom would make the gravy. She'd fry eggs if we had eggs, not in the wintertime. But we would have gravy and biscuits, maybe with sausage or ham, because Daddy would always raise a hog. Let me get straightened up here. And we'd have sausage or ham a lot of times, and boy, that was good. Gravy and biscuits and ham and eggs. I was always hungry, and I still get hungry, and I still like to cook. So yesterday or day before, I did some orange chicken that comes in a package with the flavoring and everything, and that is so good. But it's kind of Asian, and that Asian food, and you put rice in it and everything. James said after he had supper last night, he says, "You know, that just don't stay with me long. It don't really fill you up. Chinese food seems like you're still hungry when you get done." So he had him 2 peanut butter cookies. That took care of that problem. And it will. Peanut butter cookies are yummy, and I keep them on hand for us. And chocolate chip that you get at Myers because they get in the dough and then they cook them, and they cook them fresh every week. And we buy them. I go there and get them. But I went to Aldi's this morning, got grapes and bananas and apples, and because their fruit is good and it's not as expensive as Myers and Kroger. So that's what I do. And I just wanted to let you know that Norman's doing good. And I thought this morning that I wouldn't talk very much because I got some more things, as some of them say they got some rat killing to do, and I got more stuff I need to do today, and I've already been running around, and it might be a nap that I am talking about. But I tell you what, I ordered from Amazon another thing to hold my iPad in front of me here, and it really makes it nice, and I can have this in the background, and that's my curtain, and it makes a lovely scene. And so I'm going to let y'all go. And God is good all the time. And thank you for your prayers for Norman, because God has absolutely intervened. And a pacemaker is, it's wonderful that you can get something like that. You know, used to they didn't have such. I'm going to tell you one more little story before I go. When I was single one time, in between husbands, and I thought I would like to have a companion, you know, take me out and eat, pay for it, let them do it. So I got on the internet, and I've told this before. because it really made an impression on me. But I think it's okay to go on the internet and look for your companion if you want to, and you're single. And they had a thing called Plenty of Fish. And so I went on the internet, and I didn't give him my house or anything where I live, but I met a guy on the internet, and he sounded really interesting. So we made arrangements to meet at the mall, and I went. And he pulled in, and I pulled in. He was a nice looking man, a little taller than me, not tall as I like, but he was pretty tall, not bad looking at all. And so we walked a round or two and got acquainted. And so he said, "Well, uh, you want to go down on the river sometime and uh, at the lookout down there and have food, which is a fancy restaurant compared for here, and it's called the Overlook." I said, "Oh, that would be nice." And he said, "Well, I'll be in touch with you." And I gave him my phone number, and I, I decided he was good. He could pick me up. Well, you know what? I never heard from him. He disappeared. Disappeared. I didn't know where he went till about a month later. He called me. He said, "Well," he said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "I should have called you and told you, but I've really been going through it." He said, "I was having chest pains and stuff, went to the doctor, and I had to have a pacemaker put in, and I'm still adjusting to it." He was having a little problem adjusting to it. I said, "That's okay." He said, "Well, you want to still go out?" He said, "I tell you what, my grandson is has a volleyball game, and I would love to take you to that volleyball ball game." I thought to myself, I had rather watch paint dry, and I've said this before, than watch a volleyball game with people I don't know. I don't even know. It's like football. I don't know anything about it. It don't interest me. I said, "Thank you very much. I believe I'll pass on that." And I was nice to him. But I said, "But I can introduce you to somebody else." So I introduced him to Beulah May, and I gave him Beulah May's phone number and Anna Marie's phone number. So he called up Beulah, and I think he finally took her out one time, but it didn't work out with her either. But we tried. It didn't happen. So anyway, I gave up the internet then. But some people find companions. My granddaughter, Melissa, I want to show you this picture if I can find it. Her and her boyfriend, her husband killed himself. Her man she'd been married to for 10 years, and he was an alcoholic, and he was up and down and up and down, and he was suicidal, and he tried once and didn't succeed, but he finally succeeded, and he shot himself right on the other side of a door. And Melissa saying, "No, no, no," and she couldn't stop him, and he's gone. But I prayed with him. He went that first time that he committed suicide. They put him in the hospital, and he was on watch, and a lady was sitting there with him, and she was an ex-alcoholic, and so I didn't even want to go see him. I was so aggravated at him. So the Holy Spirit says, "You got to go see him." So I said, "Okay," and I didn't really feel like walking that much because the hospital and parking. Well, I parked in handicapped. Well, I parked where you wasn't supposed to park, really, out front of the hospital. And I went in, and I went up the stairs. And as I went in the room, I said, "Russell," that was his name. I said, "You know why I'm here?" He said, "Yes, I do." Because I've always talked to him about the Lord. I said, "Well, all right, let's pray." So the girl sitting there, the woman sitting there, I said, "Are you a Christian?" She said, "Yes, I am. And I'm also an ex alcoholic. And I know what happened with Russell. He tried to drown himself in the bathtub. He took an overdose, drank all the medicine he had, plus more, and he was in the bathtub. And Melissa came home and found him in the bathtub underwater. She pulled him out, resuscitated him, and got it and called the ambulance and got him to the hospital. And so he was on watch. He succeeded about a year later in shooting himself. He had guns. She couldn't get rid of them. But anyway, I'm going to show you that picture. She's happy now because that just wiped her out for so long. And she has a young daughter, and her young daughter said, Mom, I'm getting tired of you being dragging around here and you don't have anything to do and you don't have a companion. Get on that internet and find yourself a man. So she did. She went on the Facebook internet when you want to meet somebody. And she met this guy, and his wife had divorced him. He had a heart attack, and the doctors didn't think he was going to be well anymore, but the Lord healed him, and he's completely well, got a great job, doing wonderful. And so she went her way and he went his. And she'd been gone quite a long while when he met Melissa on the internet. And so they went out, and now they're engaged to be married. Oh, yeah, what else? I may have lost my track of thought there a little while. That's life. Oh, yeah, this picture I was going to show you of Melissa. She was yesterday, they bought 11 acres down in the country. And Ramsey, I believe, someplace down there, which is a long ways away. And so Karen and Kathy sent me a picture of Melissa. They are clearing, let's see if it will turn over. They're clearing that ground. And that is Melissa on this big tractor. You know, she drives an 18-wheeler, and she was clearing some stuff off that place. There was a big old truck. My daughter, Kim, the bossy one, said, and Kim went down, Kim and Bruce, or Kim went down to watch her and clearing that stuff away on that. I guess they bought that to clear some of the woods and stuff because they're going to put a house down there. What they did was they took them, bought about a 35-foot camper trailer and took it down there and parked it so that they can spend time down there now. And so they have spent some time down there, and now they're clearing the property and they're going to build them a barnuminium. So that's what I wanted to show you, Melissa. So the internet girls, you little widow woman, which I've been a widow woman a couple of times, and it's not fun. It's really lonely. I like being married. Now, I wasn't looking the third time though, because after all, when you get 70 years old, you know, you think it's it. It's over. I'm done. So I thought I was done. And I was so lonely that I wanted a girlfriend. So what I did was I started praying for the Lord to send me a friend. And I was walking at the mall, and do you know, God sent Anna Marie Atwood. And she was a little German woman, shorter than me. And she said, I see you all the time. You want to be friends? And here's my phone number. She was on the ball. And I said, okay. And I took her phone number, and I didn't call her for a while. And then I called her, and she was my friend for about 15 years when I was so, and even when I met James. And if you've got a friend, somebody to go out and eat with, it, it, I mean, we paid our own way, and sometimes I treat her and sometimes she'd treat me, but mainly we just paid our own way. But she was such good company. And I just thank the Lord for it. And she was a prayer partner. She was a Christian. So I had Anna Marie, and of course, then I had Beulah May. And Beulah May and I went to the Christian church here in New Albany together while I was all alone. And of course, we went dancing. I decided to get out of the house and go to the VFW. They have country music on Friday nights, and I decided to go down there and get out of the house because I was sitting here in this apartment just. It is so lonely of the afternoons about supper time is a bad time. So I would go to the VFW and got acquainted with the people down there. Didn't know anybody, and except one girl that I had met walking at the mall, and I said, "Is there an old man here that would dance with me? Where is he? I'll ask him to dance." I'm very outgoing, and that's what I told James. And when I first went out with him the first time, and I thought he was going to fall off his chair laughing. But that's just me. I am what I am. You know, like Popeye used to say, I am what I am, and I am what I am. And all of y'all are what you are too. You know, our personalities, when you get 91, don't change. You're the same as you was when you was 5 years old a lot, because I was always forward and outgoing, and Mom would say, now don't you be telling this old Miss Markle everything. about the family when she comes to visit, when she'd see her coming. Keep your mouth shut. Nobody's been able to keep my mouth real shut. So here I go. Okay, where was I? So Anna Marie and I were good friends, and Beulah May and I went to school together when we were kids, caught the bus together, but we didn't see each other again until we met at the mall that time. And then we would go walking. We used to walk in the cemetery. There's a big cemetery called Graceland. Well, Graceland Church was there, and then Graceland Cemetery. And a lot of people would walk around and around it. And of the evening, we would walk around it and then go get us an ice cream. That's how I got up to 163 pounds. But now I'm on 57, which is better. And my breeches fit okay. My jeans fit all right. My bras I gained a couple of pounds, and some of my bras got a little smaller. But we fixed that. Look, I was going to hush. You all know how it is. When I'm table talking, I just keep on going. But this is August the 14th, I think. You know, out in the nursing home, they would put calendars and stuff up. So and Floyd was in Alzheimer's unit. And do you know, they would they said that's so they'll know what day it is. They don't care what day it is. They couldn't care less. They're just in their own little world. And it's strange. And when I would go out there and visit with them, they would say, you know, this one woman carried her pocketbook and was always walking around to catch the bus. And she would say to you or me, whoever was, has the bus run yet? And I said, I don't know. I believe it has. Why don't you sit down right on over there in a minute and maybe it'll be on. She'd sit down in mine and we was waiting on the bus together and I'd chat with her. You just enter their world. And when you're in an Alzheimer's unit. So that's the way we would do it. Now, Floyd didn't ever speak again when he had a brain bleed, but he loved babies. Him and his wife babysit some little girls, and they were just young little babies, two sisters, one like new. I mean, they had them up till they were pretty good age, and then she passed away. His wife did, and so he just always loved babies. So he saw somebody had a baby doll or something, and he just admired it by looking at it, you know. So I went and bought him a baby doll, a natural looking baby doll, a big one, about the size of a baby. You can buy them in the toy stores. And I went to the toy store and got one. Its eyes would open and shut. And he slept with that every night. He never talked to me or nothing, but he kept his baby, and his baby kept him company. And I had put a little TV in, and I would go out and sit with him and watch TV. He wasn't looking. He had just taken a nap or something, and I watched TV. So anyhow, I was crying and crying because when you look at a big man like that, and he's never going to be well because you do not recover from Alzheimer's, I kept asking God to do a miracle, and I would be leaving crying. But I started taking Lexapro, and I got well. And I told my little cousin, her husband died, and she could not get over her depression. I said, go to your doctor and get you some Lexapro. And she did. And she don't care if I tell it, but she said she shared it with a Christian friend and who had prayed for Craig when he was sick. But she said, why don't Christians believe in antidepressants? Well, I didn't know they didn't believe in antidepressants because most Christians believe in medicine, the ones I know. I mean, nobody gave me any trouble because I took Lexapro, and I told everybody if they're depressed, they ought to get on it. Fact is, I think Beulah May did. But you go to the doctor. I mean, you can get Prozac and you can get Lexapro, and there's some others that are good. But for Lexapro, it worked for me, and I got over I was crying every time I went out of the nursing home, and I went every day, sometimes twice a day, and so when I took the Lexapro, and I took it wrong at first, I took too much, and then I cut it in pieces like the head nurse told me down there at Rolling Hills that everybody out here takes it in the wintertime because everybody gets depressed. There's no sun or anything. And she said, and it's not habit forming. You can get right off of it anytime you want to. You don't have to take it. So I took it right up till I met James. And then I didn't plan on having another husband because I was 72 or something when I met him in church. And Floyd was in the nursing home and his wife was real sick. But I never dreamed that in 4 years I would get married again at 76. Heavens to Murgatroyd. That's unbelievable to me. I mean, who would do? But you know what? You feel like a teenager. I remember when we started courting and it was Valentine's Day. I got him a big Valentine's card and he got me a big one. We were in love. I had found somebody that was so much like Buddy and so gentle and kind and in church and loved the Lord. But you know, his wife passed away and Floyd passed away. And then we got together, but it all worked out. The Lord went before me and made the crooked places straight. And I never dreamed I'd be married a third time. And now we've been married. It'll be 16 years this December. I figured, I didn't figure I'd live that long. But we're not the ones that decide. But I drink my milk. I think that keeps me healthy. And I take turmeric. And I found that accidentally. Oh, I better shut up. It's 26 minutes. And I didn't turn my phone off and it didn't ring. James went to the eye doctor, and I will bring you up on that because some of y'all watch all the way through. There was no change. His eyes are doing wonderful. And they did put the drops in him to expand them, you know, so they could look. And it wore off real fast. And so he was able to drive today. He couldn't drive yesterday. I have to take him and go get him. And it's other side of town, which isn't that far, but I'm still the taxi cab driver. I personally would be afraid to ride with anybody 91 years old, almost 92, September 19th. And I found out that Wendy, my cousin, who I just love, her birthday is September 18th. So she said, I don't have your address, and so I can mail you a card. And I thought, I don't mail cards. I don't mail cards to anybody. I don't. My sister Phyllis mailed cards to everybody. Now, I used to buy cards for my sister that I loved her so much, and I would get mom maybe a Mother's Day card to give it to her personally. But I, and back years ago, I used to mail Christmas cards. But look how long that's been. Back when Christmas card sending was, but now I only get one card a year, usually, Christmas card, and it's from my niece, granddaughter that married a man. They have three little girls down in South Carolina, and they always mail me an update every year of their children and them picture and tell what's going on. And I don't think she really cares what's going on with me. She lives such a fabulous life. She lives that country club life. Y'all know what that is? I don't. But they fly here and they fly there and they fly yonder, and they take the kids on to cowboy ranches. And those kids, those three girls, they have a wonderful life, and I'm sure they're just spoiled to pieces, and I hope they will amount to something. Sometimes that's not a good thing to get everything you want, but I believe they do. But they're gorgeous. Runs in the family. That's why Dina, the mother, is beautiful, and the father is handsome, and he's in high end real estate. You know, like he sells apartment complexes and stuff like that. And he made one lately a few years ago that he made $1 million on. So they do whatever they want. What would we do with $1 million? One time, we was up in New Jersey, and we was going to go to church with Kathy or somebody, one of my daughters or something. Visit a special speaker was in, and we was going to go. And on the way, we stopped to get something at this filling station, and they were selling lottery tickets. And Kathy, let's buy some lottery tickets. So I bought four. You know, we don't believe in gambling in our Pentecostal way. You don't supposed to gamble or play cards or dance, but now that's changed. Nobody pays any attention to it. So I bought four. And while we was there at that place, uh, I had to get something out of something out of my pocketbook. I used to carry pocketbooks, don't anymore. And there was my lottery tickets, and I shoved them back in. I was afraid somebody was going to see them. I felt so guilty. I didn't win. But I thought, what would I do with $1 million? And back then, we still could have everything we wanted to eat. Buddy and I were doing good on the evangelistic field. We didn't have those hard times. Even though we traveled on love offering, we did well. And, we had enough to eat. We had a roof over our heads. And the Lord told me to build us a little apartment in the rear when we were gone from our home and just keep the front rented. And so that was an income because our home was paid off. Of course, I was paying payments on the loan we had to make to build the apartment. We borrowed $10,000 at 13% interest. You think interest rates are bad now? 13%, kiddo. And that's what it was. But we got that paid off, and that's where I am now in my little apartment in the rear of my 3-bedroom brick house with a bath and a half. It's rented. That's still income. The Lord the Holy Spirit just speaks to you and He lets you know things that you can't learn yourself because I'm not that smart, really, but He just helps you. And so, but I do research and I found out that evangelists need to have a home somewhere. You just don't buy a camper and live in it forever. Some of them try that and do it, and they get kind of miserable because they don't have a home anywhere. And it's good to have a home to come back to. And we used to come home, and I remember some of the times we traveled and we had a lot of fun, and I remember crying. I would get so homesick for my library and for my newspapers, and I would cry with loneliness only when Buddy was in the church. He would go in and practice his singing and learn his songs and study his Bible. And that's when I had my crying time. And I'm a crybaby sometimes. I haven't cried much since I met James. If you hurt my feelings real bad, I will cry. And James has done that maybe one time or two times since we've been married, that he just hurt my feelings so bad and that I just cried. And I said, you know what? He hurt my feelings so bad, and I had to forgive him for it right then and there. And so we was on our way home when it happened at a restaurant when he hurt my feelings because you know what? All I did was say, we ordered steaks and it was as dry as a bone. I mean, when you order it medium rare, you don't crisp it, for heaven's sake. And I told her, I said, I'm sorry, this is not right. And James said, you was rude. I said, I was not rude. I was just getting her to do it right. I have been a waitress. You can ask them to fix it. But he was just, I had been impolite to a waitress, was his opinion. So we was on our way home and tears were running down my face and I wasn't sobbing out loud or anything. But it just came to me, forgive him. Let it go right now, which is not easy. So I pulled myself together and I looked over at him. I said, you know what? I'm not going to let you rain on my parade. I'm going to enjoy life anyway. And I was not rude to her. That I said I was waitress and it's perfectly all right to tell them that the order is wrong. And if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. But I disagree. And you know what? He shut up and we went home and I never heard anything like that again. That was years ago, back when we hadn't been married very long. I don't know what makes him think you can't. And now if I say to a waitress, honey, take this back and do this, that, he don't say a word. He just agrees. Yes, that should be done. You just have to train them up in the way they should go. That's all I know. And sometimes it gets hurtful. But we just do what we got to do. I mean, what do? You do it with the help of the Lord, and it's not easy sometimes. But I'm not going to be a crybaby anymore if I can help it. It's not fun. Okay, I don't know. I get I get to talking to y'all, and it's so much fun. And I enjoy the scenery. And that cat looks just like Big Tom almost. But I got to tell you one more thing. This is so crazy. Cats are kind of nutty as fruitcakes. These cats, these twin sisters, and they're just look just alike. You can't hardly tell them apart except for their tails. I don't think anybody's going to watch this all the way through. So I'm just enjoying talking, okay? I'm so happy that Norman is doing well and he's getting his pacemaker and he's going to be fine. But those twins are silly. Now, Big Tom, we live in a big enough lot that Big Tom don't get off the property. It's about a half acre or bigger. He stays right in the yard. He's not, ever since we moved there, he don't get off. Well, James's cat has learned to go outside and spend the night with him. The other night we couldn't get her in because we let both of them go out too when they want to. But my little girl is shy and she don't want to get out that much, so she don't go. But they still want to sleep in the breezeway quite often, and they'll go on their own. So last night, James's cat was out. Big Tom was out. Big Tom came in. He said he's going to spend the night in. They decide what they want to do. So he came in, and my little girl went out, and James's little girl, Sweetie, she came in, and Big Tom came in, and my little girl, baby girl I call her, Princess, would not come in. So here it's getting dark, and James is tired because he had his eyes dilated and everything, and so he went on to bed. And I said, "Well, I'm going to stay up a while and read because I'm reading this good book about spies." And so I got to finish that today. That's a priority. Anyway, she would, the one, mine wouldn't come in. And she's out there, and I tried to coax her, kitty, kitty, kitty. She won't come. So I step out the door, and I'm in my my nightgown, and there's mosquitoes out there. So she just run off up behind the house, not out to the road or anything, just out under the trees. So I step off the concrete because we've got a big concrete place there, and she won't come. She just won't. And I said, "Well, I'm going to bed." So, and I said, "Lord, when I went to bed, I said, she's in your hands. I can't get her in." And the night before that, her sister had spent the night out and was there that morning with Big Tom because Big Tom stays out at night. And he decided to go back out. And so he was out there with her, and the two of them was out, and I went to bed. And don't you know, before I went to bed, James's little girl, and that's what I call them, little girls, meowed at me and run for the breezeway door. I opened it. She went in. She went to sleep in the breezeway. And two of them are outside, so I'm going to bed. I said, I got to go to bed. It's 10:30. I stayed up late reading that book last night. It's over 1,000 pages. And I'm reading it in between doing this, that, and the other. So I said, Lord, when I was doing my praying and my meditation, I said, Lord, they're in your hands. I'm going to bed and I'm going to sleep good. And I did. And so James got up first this morning because I was up so late. I slept right past the time I usually get up, which is usually around 4 o'clock. I didn't get up. So when I got up finally around 5 o'clock, I said, well, what happened with the cats? He said, well, I found out that my cat was in the breezeway. I let her out. She was glad to see me. And then she started running around meowing, meowing, meowing. She was hunting for her sister. He said, then I figured out from all her meowing, she was hunting for her, that she must be outside. So he said, I went and opened the door, and her and Big Tom both came in and wanted me to feed them the wet food right then and there. And so when I got up, there she was. The Lord took care of them. Oh my goodness, I've talked 38 minutes. I am going to quit. How many times have I quit today? Is this the third time? Third time's a charm, they say. So this cat's still sleeping, so y'all walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I'll talk to you again sometime. I don't know when. I may start skipping some days. Who knows? I don't know. I didn't know what I would say today, and look at this. Lord bless you. I love you. And thanks for all your prayers. I cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate your prayers because, you know, God hears us and He intervenes. And I'm so thankful. Did you see that little dog right there? That's a little poodle. I used to raise poodles. I had like 15 females and 4 little boy dogs. And I raised puppies and sold them and made good money. It was a lot of trouble keeping them all shaved and everything and all their vaccinations, but I learned to give all the vaccinations. I learned how to do all that stuff. you'd be surprised what you can learn and how you can make money in separate ways, several different ways. And then it don't always, the Lord gets you through. So he has helped me there far. And just told the commenter this morning, I didn't think I'd ever make another video for 40 minutes. And here I've gone and done it. You did it. My English is not too great. And I hope this is loud enough. I'm closing out. Love you. Bye bye.